just so everyone knows, because I may not be familiar to all of you, my name is Teresa Sansom. I'm a director, a recent director of ASP. I call myself a life leadership and envisioning coach. And I've had, I came to ASP because I did some work, my Future Self Now work with the directors, and you know, the sort of the relationship grew from there. So that's who I am. And today obviously is the AGM. The themes, we decided to sort of have themes, a theme for this AGM, which is around thriving, which is something that's very sort of dear to my heart. The idea that, you know, you thrive, we all thrive. And also collaboration, which is sort of a very sort of hot topic right now, especially for ASP as it's growing. We'll learn more about that from Gwyn in a moment. So just so you know what we're going to do today, we're going to pass it over to Gwyn in a moment to light the children's fire. He'll explain that, and then we're going to do some very quick introductions of everyone. And then Gwyn is going to give us a sort of an update from the year that was, so that you can hear about what's been going on in ASP and some of the exciting new developments. And then we're going to hear from David, who's going to give us the state of affairs, the sort of the legal bit of an AGM. So David will present that to us, and then we have a wonderful guest speaker today, Alan Raw, who is a new director too, who's going to talk about the Humber EcoFest, which is very much inside of this theme of thriving and collaboration. So really excited to hear from Alan a bit later. And then I'm going to kind of round everything off to just explore these themes of thriving and collaboration, and just have us do an exercise where we look at that for ourselves, for us as members, and for the organization as a whole. So just to give it sort of like a reflection point at the end, that we can really kind of join in and have some lively discussion around. So so without further ado, I'll hand over to Gwyn, and Gwyn, if you could light the children's fire, that would be great.
And indeed, thank you very much, Teresa, and I'm really grateful for Teresa and Alan for putting all the work into creating this, if I forget to say that later on. Yeah, the Children's Fire, as many of you know, is the context in which we do all our work. The tradition goes back to Indian culture, North American Indian culture, and many others, Dakota Indians amongst them. And the idea is that in their council, if they decide to take any action or decisions, they reflect against the Children's Fire, which represents all unborn children, both human and non-human, 7 generations out. And the idea is that no resolution or action shall pass from this meeting if we deem that in any way harms the Children's Fire. So with that, if I shall light it without burning the house down. Some things are not as easy as they seem, are they? But I'm lucky. There we go. And at the end of the meeting, Teresa will ask us to reflect back on that briefly before extinguish it and calling the meeting to a halt. So, yes, what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just share my screen.
Oh no, sorry, Gwyn, I'm just going to do introductions first, if that's okay.
Oh, sorry, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Then I'll hand it over to you. So yeah, so if we could go around, I'm just going to call on you based on what I'm seeing on the screen, if that's okay. And just give a very brief introduction, just like you know who you are and where you're from, just so that we all can just say hi to each other and get to know each other. So so Helena, can I start with you?
Hi everyone, it's absolutely lovely to be here My name is Helena Kettleborough. I live in Manchester, but I also spend quite a lot of time in London because my family and my grandchildren are there. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Helena. Great. Will, you're up next.
Yeah, hi folks, I'm Will, from the UK originally, but living in Finland now. Good to be here.
Great, thank you. Jane?
Hello, I'm Jane Shore. I do communications and specifically how we communicate our better futures. I'm currently, obviously a Brit, but currently calling in from the west coast of Canada.
Great. Rebecca?
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I currently live in Glasgow, from Bristol originally, and possibly shortly moving to the Netherlands.
Great. Alan?
Hello, I'm Alan Raw. I am in Hull, in East Riding of Yorkshire on the east coast by the Humber River.
Great, thank you. Jan?
Hello, I'm Jan, and I live in the West Midlands, right next to the River Severn in Shropshire.
Great. Feel free to say what you do, by the way. Sorry, I didn't add that, but everybody's been very good. Lucy?
Hey everybody, so I'm Lucy. I'm in Plymouth, Devon. I'm a conscious business consultant.
Great, thanks so much, Lucy. Michelle?
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Furtado. I'm also director and I am sustainability consultant and an artist and an activist, and I'm currently in Portugal.
Great to be so international. David?
Hello, yes, my name's David. I'm currently based in near a little town called Stoke. We're about halfway between Stoke and Stafford in North Staffordshire. I'm the ASP treasurer of my sins. I used to be an accountant. I've actually been retraining in pre-hospital emergency medicine for the last couple of years. So a very different kind of career direction for me, but yeah, that's who I am, or where I am.
Thank you, David. And Robert?
Hi, I'm Rob Barnard Weston, and after a lifetime of living in or near Bath, I moved out to rural Wiltshire a year and a half ago, and I've been doing sustainability stuff for a little over a third of a century.
Fantastic. Thank you. Ranjan? I think Ranjan may be having some troubles. I'll come. Oh, there you are. There you are, Ranjan. If you could just unmute yourself, though, Ranjan. You're muted, yeah.
Is that better?
Yep.
Right. Name is Ranjan. I just have one name. I used to live in England, but I moved out in the 90s and went to the States. And now I'm based in Lanka, which is an island south of India. My work is really about, I work as a healer, but I'm more focused on training people how not to get sick in the first place, because I was born sick and I was taught how not to get sick. So I haven't had any medication in, I think, over 50 years now. And that's my work.
Thank you. Thank you, Ranjan.
Sustainable health.
Yeah, sustainable health.
Of the human body so that we don't get sick.
Perfect. Thriving. That's it. That's totally inside of the theme. Fantastic. Thanks, Ranjan. And last but not least, Giles.
Thank you. Yeah, I prefer to have my video off when I'm not talking, as it says in the chat. But yeah, for those of you that don't know me well, I'm Giles Metcalf. I'm a ethical freelance digital marketer. Also, these days, a sustainability practitioner. I help people to understand, measure, and indeed reduce the carbon footprint of their website. But beyond that, their email usage, social media usage. So along with Lucy Spencer, we help businesses to better understand sustainability and how they can reduce their carbon footprint.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. I think that's everyone. I haven't missed anybody out. So great. So what we're going to do now is just pass over to Gwyn, and he's just going to give us a kind of a state of play around ASP in the last year. That would be great.
Thanks very much. And Teresa, Jagdish will be in a few minutes, he said.
Okay, great.
Okay, right. I'm just going to share a screen. Hopefully it works. And on this one. Right, so this is the theme, collaboration thriving. What I wanted to do today, very briefly, is just to give an overview of where we've got to in the last 2 years, because the last 2 years has been quite outstanding and exceptional in ASP's history. Growth in itself is a contentious subject in the financial sector, but actually, I just want to report on what I consider healthy growth. And I was struck by something that Simon Cusden said the other day. Simon is a therapist working on addiction work with Rob and a few other people. And he said this wonderful thing in a meeting with me. He said, if you want to build high, first you have to create a broad and wide base. And for those days when he's not building high, he has satisfaction in knowing that it's expanding the base. And really that summarizes where we are. In that period of growth from 40 to 150 members, and about half of those have been recommended by members and about half have just found us. So we don't know where they find us, but we're attracting people. We've been Teresa Sampson, Michelle are all joined the diversity. As we got an inkling today, we've got people coming in now from Sweden last night, Hungary, Andorra, Singapore, Finland, Switzerland, Canada. So although we're ostensibly UK based, we are reaching out to all corners of the earth now, which is lovely. And one of the things that's really grown this year is the work that Jagdish and Alina pioneered with help from a few others. The Earth Conversations, which have meant we've been able to attract literally world-class speakers in their field, in Andrew Wilson, who co-wrote Net Positive with Paul Polman, Satish Kumar, who created the Schumacher College, Vandana Shiva, and Peter Reason. So that's a very good start, and we're building on that, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. Collaboration is one of the themes, and as well as having a person-to-person membership scheme, we also started off a few years ago with this idea that we could, as an organization, we could collaborate with other organizations in a very non-hierarchical way. We had a few trials, learned a lot from that, and now recently, as you've possibly seen, we've just set up some new alliances, one just today, in fact, with ORB, which many of you know, your members, the Organisation of Responsible Business, run by Jill Poet, which is very complimentary. Change Agents UK, which is really featuring or focusing on getting young people into education, supporting with recruitment, mentoring and education, which is a fantastic organisation, been running about 15 years now. Climate Connect and Koru Consulting, which is very close to Rob's heart, sorry, not Rob, Alan's heart. Alan is a director at both of those. And recently the Bristol Future Talent Partnership, which is a group of companies in Bristol who are promoting the career paths for young people of diverse backgrounds. So, and we're going to be working with them to see whether we can work with their young people and extend our work to them and maybe get some of their people placed in our organisations. Schumacher College, we've started a new relationship with this year, which is looking quite promising. And Black Mountains College in Wales, the first university set up to tackle climate change. They're opening in September, and we've had a couple of conversations with them. Nothing concrete yet, but that's where we are with that. So that's all really exciting initiatives. And then Thriving, and I'm glad Ranjan joined us today, because in the Schumacher College, he just gave one of his pearls of wisdom, which every time I talk about it, I just feel warm. And he said, nature and communities thrive by the sharing of the abundance. And that's so what's happening in ASP at the moment. And there's many beautiful things about that, but the bit I love is that when we share what's abundant to us, we do not deplete ourselves. So we're not giving up something that makes us weaker. We're still maintaining our integrity and strength and our action, and we're sharing what we want to have as gifts. And really, to me, that's the essence of what a good community is, that it nurtures itself. And we've got lots of examples of that really manifesting itself now. So as an offshoot from the Earth Conversations, we've done something which is quite special, I think. We've created spaces now on the website for action research activity. And that's something that's been at the heart of ASP from the very first day, because that was, you know, the heart of the learning in the responsible business practice, MSc, from which ASP was born. The other amazing thing, which I'm not going to say much about because Alan's going to give us the insight on that, is the Humbo Eco Fest, which is developing, which in a sense, Alan and I have been talking about for 10 years, and it's just started to happen. And literally hot off the press, we're starting something which we think might be called mentoring circles, but it's where a group of ASP members are invited in to help a member with a particular dilemma or opportunity that they're facing, that they don't feel equipped to cope with themselves, and they want extra input and advice and support. The first one was a sensational meeting. When I spoke to Mike Zeidler about this, who couldn't attend sadly, he said, Gwyn, that was the reason that ASP was created way back in 2005, to support, to provide the connection, the challenge and support to each of us. So it's really nice that sort of intuitively that ethos is still there within ASP, and we're actually beginning to manifest it now in this new way. So that's lovely. And I want to go into something else, because sensing and responding is up there. We've adopted that as our way of progressing, a way of moving forward. We don't have plans. We don't have a corporate plan. What we're here to do is to sense what the world needs, individually and collectively, and then try and work out how to respond. And that's really the essence of all our work. And Alan's got a lovely phrase which he keeps saying, which again warms my heart, because it's so relevant and needed now, because we're entering this period now where climate anxiety is rapidly growing as we see the climate crisis unfurling around us in just about every corner of the world. And he has this phrase that says, if you have to give bad news, first create the support infrastructure to catch the person that you're going to give the bad news to. Now, a lot of people have got that bad news already. So what we are doing in various exercises at the moment is working out how we can respond to climate anxiety. We all feel it in different ways, but also there's lots of young people out there who just are despairing of the future. So we're looking to create, the first of example is this series called Finite in Nature series, which is on our website. We're still working on it, but that will be released in September. And I know other members are also in their own practices working on exactly the same dilemma and working out how to respond to it. So it's really taking action in the face of all the bad news that we see. And this, as Teresa and people like Sarah are working on, how do you build resilience amongst the practitioners? And I'll leave you with a call to action, because this is the theme of today. It's the thriving in face of everything we see. And I just love this excerpt from a poem that I've captured on the website in the post, what time is it? It comes from Stephen Jenkinson's work. And it says, when there is finally no hope left, that's when you have to leave a scent in the air of what some people did in the time of trouble like this. Because the people to come, they're going to need that. They're going to need to know that they came from people who were worthy of coming from. You don't hope that you will get worthy. You get worthy. Now, that's what time it is. And I think that just captures the call to action for us all. We are all trying to get worthy so that future generations will understand that we did what we could. What I'd also like to do, if I can, is briefly just show you 2 sites on the website. For this, I've got to actually make sure that I share the right screen. So 1 second. Where's it gone? Teresa, do let me know if I've run over time, but I should be. Can you see the website coming up?
Yeah, just by a minute or two, but that's fine, Gwyn. Just
Yeah,
go for it.
literally. So I just wanted to point out, I mean, there's loads of good stuff up here, obviously, every month from members, but this is where the Earth Conversations home is, under events. And this is really built up from just a germ of an idea from Jagdish and Helena. Elliot, who used to work with us, helped them create this, and I've been supporting them since. But it's got all the information about the dates, about the recordings, and we've got a pretty stellar cast so far. And out of that grew this action research space. And the lovely thing about this, we asked one of our members, Helen Tyrrell, who's a creative play and an artist, creative play coach and artist, to capture what she felt ASP was. So this is her original picture of what she felt was the best way to communicate what her perception of action research is. So, and I think that's a delight and a privilege to be able to host that. So in there you'll find evolving plans. The next event is Helena Kettleborough is going to be running a creative learning exercise based around her new book, which has just been released. Got a lovely quote from our founder, Mike Zeidler. And then we're so blessed because we've got the support of 4 of the leading figures in Britain's action research field. So Judy Marshall, Jill Coleman, Margaret Gearty and Peter Reason, who are all architects also of the RBP course. So it's going to be quite an amazing space to work from with real expertise and insights. And we capture the recordings from the events, and we're building up a resource space. At the moment, we've got 3 books from 3 of the authors. And then the alliances, this is also a new page, which I wanted to quickly highlight. So here are the 4 current partners. Bristol Future Talent Partnership. They've literally just come on today, and they're involved with a large number of Bristol companies getting placements for children from 14 up to 21, all ages. And that gives them great work experience. And we're hoping that we can offer that as well. But also it gives us access to those young people and their voices and their opinions. And also it helps us to share the work that we're doing with that generation. I won't go through the others, but there's plenty more there. So please visit that site, and I shall, in the interest of time, move over and let Teresa take over.
Great, thanks, Gwyn. That's wonderful. So we're going to pass over to David, in fact, now to just give us the Treasurer's report.
Lovely. We were talking a little bit. I was talking a little bit earlier on with Gwyn about him possibly sharing his screen and me talking over. I've decided I've done a little slide here. We'll try and share mine and see where we go, rather than show you the full set of accounts, which I can if you want. They are, as you know, with accounts, incredibly dire. What I've done is I've done a slide which has just pulled out the key numbers from it, just to show you sort of the headlines of where we're at. And then if you've got any questions, we can run over the detail in due course. Is that okay with you guys? Yeah, you're all happy with that? Brilliant.
Yeah,
right, let's see if I can actually share this screen with you. Right, share. There we go. Which screen do I want to share? That one. Okay, hopefully you're seeing a screen that says financials. Lovely. So yes, what does this mean in terms of what we're doing and where we're doing? Well, from an accounts point of view, turnover last year running at 2270, previous year. You can see we're a huge organization, multinational in scope and all the rest of it. Well, I say we are multinational, as we heard earlier on. And for a multinational group of sustainability professionals, we are very lean and mean. Turnover pretty much similar to last year, gradually going up, reflecting the increase in numbers. our costs over the last year pretty much matching our turnover. I'll come into explaining that a little bit later on, why it's jumped up quite a bit from last season. So over the course of 2023, basically we had a small deficit of about £143 versus a surplus the previous year of £915, meaning we've got just over £2,500 in the bank, compared to £2,700 the year before. So what are we spending our money on essentially as an organisation? Well, first off, and most importantly, I suppose, for anybody in this kind of organisation, none of the directors get any money for their job as a director. We all do this as volunteers. So where do we spend our money as an organisation? Basically, given the nature of who we are, it's software and IT support. That's gone up quite a bit over the course of the last year because, as you can see from the website, we've started investing a little bit of money in a bit of redesign, a bit of underpinning technology there. Plus, of course, there's money going on, the Zoom accounts that we've got to do. There's the regular emails that come out that, of course, have to be paid for based on the number of subscribers. And the number of subscribers is always going to be slightly different to the number of members, because we have people who want to keep in touch with what we're doing, quite rightly so. Plus, there are, I'm afraid, costs to do with things like the transcription service. There are costs to do with the pictures and the photos, which have licensing fees, of course, and so on and so forth. But that's very much kind of the big increase last year was very much a reflection of the slight redesign and revamp of the website. So basically, we're tooting along quite happily in terms of the expenses that we're incurring in relation to who we are as an organisation, the size we are as an organisation, and they do very much reflect what we do. We had a small amount this last year of travelling expenses because we had a number of people go down to Schumacher College for a meeting there to have a look around their facilities. That amounted to a couple of £100 for a team of people to go over there. But essentially, the vast majority of the funding that we receive from the members at the moment is being spent on our IT, just to make sure that we stay in touch, that we're able to communicate those ideas, we're able to share those ideas amongst each other, and enable actions to come off the back of those interactions. We remain at heart, although software and IT can be quite an impersonal kind of thing, it is all about enabling those personal interactions and those personal changes that really, I suppose, makes us as the ASP a very distinctive group of people, because we are a very people-driven kind of organisation, and that's how it reflects. So that's kind of where we are. I can show you the detail if you're interested in any of that. We, of course, don't pay tax, as we are a mutual organisation. So anything that comes into the organisation always at the end of the day gets reinvested back into making stuff happen. And as I say, what we're doing at the moment is making stuff happen with people from all over the world. And it's as simple and as complicated as that, I'm afraid. Any questions from our delightful membership, please ask. And I'm getting magnificent silence, which I love as an accountant. Very unusual for ASP.
I think Helena's raising her hand, David.
Hi, Helena.
Hi, David. Thank you so much for that. It was really clear. David, I'm just checking that we still have, or we're still paying for the gaggle,
Yes,
the mail for the.
That's what I mean by the
RBP.
email thing when I mentioned the email messages.
That's lovely.
The gaggle
Yeah,
mail
I was
thing
just
that's
checking.
in
Thank
there.
you very
Yes,
much.
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if you need to explain it to people who don't know about it, but I was just checking it.
Can if you want, yes.
Thank you.
Basically, the ASP runs two gaggle mail streams. Gaggle mail is basically handles our email subscriptions so that we can communicate amongst each other. We have one general ASP one, which enables ASP members to talk and communicate to each other, to the whole group. And then there's one specifically for those people that were on the old MSC, the Bristol group, if you like, of change agents that ASP grew from, that enables them to work to continue to work together again in the way that was originally envisaged. But yeah, it's basically an email subscription communication system that allows us to talk to each other and share ideas.
That's lovely. Thank you, David.
Great. So any other questions for David or Gwyn? In fact, we've got a few minutes that you can field some questions.
I have one observation, if I can make, Jagdish here. I'm sorry I joined late. I couldn't connect. Hi. I just want to say it's a good sign that we are spending a little more and showing a little deficit. These are always signs that we are doing something, versus being in a state of, not doing much. And going ahead, I think it will be nice to say that, we have a little more spend, a little more revenue, and we do more activities. As we go on to meet more people, shake more hands, plan more programs, these spends will go up, which is very nice and a good direction. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Jagdish. And this last year really does reflect the fact that ASP has really, I think, from my point of view, really developed over the course of the last year. There's been an awful lot of activity going on in the background, reflected by all the stuff that Gwyn was talking about in his talk. We've really expanded the work that we're doing, and it's really making a big impact, which is lovely to see. And yeah, absolutely, it would be lovely to see that grow and develop, and be great to see how that goes over the course of the next year.
Yeah, absolutely. The direction should be that. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jagdish. So anyone else would like to ask a question of David or Gwyn? If not, we'll move on. Gwyn wants to ask himself a question. Yes.
One thing, because just to briefly follow up on Jagdish's point and David's, this year we experimented with a bursary to enable, or a concession to enable people who couldn't afford the costs of going down to particularly Schumacher, that we would just give them financial support. And that was fantastic because it enabled at least 2 people to go who wouldn't have attended. And actually, ironically, those were 2 people that contributed the most in the conversations. So I think that just shows that a bit of generosity is repaid beautifully in this world. So so we'd like to keep that going. And also we've changed to just having voluntary donations on the back of every free invitation for meetings. And that's raising quite a bit of extra cash, which just shows that people want to support us. And some of those are members who've already paid the subscription, but also it's guests who want to see the work going. So any ideas for how we can, raise money within the ethos that we are always welcome.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. So so what we'll do now is hand things over to our wonderful guest, Alan Raw. And I'll leave him to introduce himself, and yeah, over to you, Alan.
Thanks very much. So yes, I am a new director of ASP, and very happy to be doing that. I've been a member for about 12 years, and I got involved in ASP because I was trying to train a green team at a festival that I was running, and I needed a bit of support, and I found that ASP was a good place to find people who knew what they were doing, unlike me. And over that last 12 years of running festivals and things, I've really enjoyed the community. So it's great to now be a director. So thank you ever so much for that. It's also made me think a lot, and one of those things is about festivals and how I go about doing them. And so I'm changing things, trying to constantly push the barrier and try and make it a little bit more sustainable every time. So this year with Humber Eco Fest, it's a big change. I'll be doing things in a way I've not done them before, so we'll see how all that goes, and it's great that ASP is supporting that. Perfect really to have this during thriving in collaboration as a theme, because that's what the entire thing's about really, and it's come from collaboration, and it is thriving. I run the Climate Engagement Centre in Hull, which is a voluntary space where we have a meanwhile lease on our 33rd shop. It's run by a creative and cultural organisation, which I'm one of the founders of and have been co-running for 30 years. It's our 30th anniversary. We've never had any funding. We've never had a problem with that. We're all volunteers, and we've made lots of things happen and responded to the needs of our community. And that's why we now have the Climate Engagement Centre, because that was part of responding to that need. And with it being the 30th anniversary as well, we're really looking at how we do things and how we can do them better. And so Humber Eco Fest is a bit of a leap of faith. It's a bottom-up event with no funding or paid team again, but that's what we're used to. But it's also decentralised. So rather than having one space where thousands of people come to it, normally we'd have a field and thousands of people would arrive at that field and they would sleep and eat and dance and everything else there. And we'd have our own little closed ecosystem like that. Instead of doing that and getting all those people to travel and leave the wonderful things they're at, and then us clean up after them, we decided it would be better if we did it in a decentralized way. A celebration made of separate, self-sufficient, collaborative parts where people can have an event wherever they are, and they can walk to it or cycle to it and then stay involved in it. And there is this myth that 21 days is a good length of time to form a habit, but it's such a popular myth that we thought it might as well go with that. So it's a 21-day festival of opportunities to get involved in something close to you and then stay involved in it. Either to become a beneficiary of eating the food that is grown, or become a volunteer in maybe providing something for everybody else, or both. And it's also been influenced by the quote that Gwyn shared earlier, Ranjan's quote about sharing abundance and how that's how nature works. And as I run the permaculture garden for the CEC as well, my own understanding of permaculture just sings into that really. The way that trees support each other, for example, which I'm always happy to talk about, but now's not the time. So creative and cultural is run with applied permaculture. It's permaculture principles, it's sociocracy. And so to extend that out to the event that we're putting on just makes sense, really. It makes us more congruent as well with what we're doing. So it's a celebration of community projects, supporting people who have already turned their climate anxiety into action, and highlighting their practice, promoting opportunities for collaboration and engaging a wider community into what they're doing, and so to socially educate, build connections across the Humber's 4 local authorities, which don't normally do much together, but are very much in the same boat. And very soon a boat will be a very handy thing to have. We need to show how people are tackling climate change, regenerating the soil, preparing for sea level rise in the lowest lying city in the UK with no barrier like the Thames across its river. Protecting biodiversity, addressing food poverty, reducing waste and pollution, developing resilience, that's the big thing really, and regenerating our wildlife habitat and protecting it at the same time. We could put a barrier across the Humber, I imagine, but that would be for humans, and it would have devastating consequences for other life, because the mouth of the Humber is Spurn Point, which is a nature reserve and needs to stay that way. So each local event will be largely self-sufficient and publicised into one bigger event, which is the Humber Eco Fest. Over 60 individual events are currently being planned throughout the region, spread over the 21 days in forest schools, community gardens, repair cafes, and on the beaches, amongst other places. We aim to create a snapshot of the local action as it is now, to protect it against displacement, amongst other things, so that we're not wasting future opportunities, not reinventing what already exists. We need a map that acts as a guide to new initiatives, so we can quickly build resilience effectively and inclusively with limited resources by knowing what we've already got. And there's 21 exciting days of opportunities is what we're telling people, for everyone to join in with, to celebrate and learn from each other. Now, ASP, with our global membership, can help by offering an online festival of knowledge to Humber EcoFest, with unique alternative perspectives from places that are dealing with the same challenges, but in different ways and at different points in the development of those challenges. So Humber EcoFest programme of celebratory and educational events is scheduled to run across the cities and towns and villages and locations of the Humber region from Sunday, October the 22nd to Saturday, November the 11th, when there will be an end COP style event. And I know already that several ASP members are going to be physically coming here to join in with that, and I'm very grateful for that. But I also am hoping that many of you will join in with the online version as well and share your knowledge and your wisdom and just how you're doing things. So the HQ for this is the Climate Engagement Centre in Hull, with a view to our Hull CEC supporting the development of more independent CECs across the region in more disused shops, using all of the abundance of resources that we've got and sharing that out so that it can be used over a wider area, closer to where people can walk to it or cycle to it. And the festival will launch, as I said, on the 22nd of October at Hull's Marine Research Centre and Submarium, which is the Deep. And that's half-term week, so it'll start with activities for families. And we've already obtained support, commitment from a growing enthusiastic list of collaborators like the Wildlife Trust, Marine Conservation Society, 2 universities, Friends of the Earth, and many more. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And it's going to be a challenge, but I think it's going to be a fun one. And we don't have the highest of expectations for it, but we do hope that we'll do something good this year that we can reflect on and see if we can move from that point by this time next year and then look again. So, questions? What would you like to say about it?
Hello.
I see a hand, yes.
Yeah. It sounds amazing. It just sounds utterly amazing. So excited. How do we get involved in the online stuff?
Well, yet to be worked out really, but what we're doing right this second seems to be working fairly well. So I think it will be a series of these kind of structured events whereby people are sharing their knowledge, sharing what they're doing, possibly on this platform or possibly on another one, depending on which the most sustainable platform is that we can find. I will be discussing this obviously with the rest of ASP and anybody who's got a good idea. Let's integrate that.
If I can just add to the magnificent story Alan's told, because Alan is convinced that this has to stay a Hull event or a Humber event from Humber people for Humber people. So we've discussed how ASP could complement that. And the idea that Alan's come up with is that if you want to run a Zoom event for the Hull event, then we'll buddy you up with a Hull resident so that it's got their agenda, their flavour, their perspective, and we complement and supplement that. So that, Michelle, you know, we could, if you've got a particular passion about something, art or sustainability, let us know and we'll find, Alan will find someone in Hull that would be a good partner so that it's always co-created.
Yeah, that's cool. We did kind of like when I was doing the activism, like street stalls, we did kind of ask me anything type, you know, questionnaires about whatever they people wanted. So that was always quite fun.
Fantastic.
Alan, could you just give an idea of scale? I mean, how many people are you guessing might get involved over the 3 weeks?
Well, I'm doing a lot of guessing. because I've never done a festival like this before. So I'm not selling tickets for it, for one thing, but for some of the events where there is limited capacity inside places rather than outside of places, we will have to do something like an Eventbrite free ticket, just so we can stay within the fire regs. But yes, in previous years, we've had a much better idea because it's been one place that people are coming to, and we've helped them with their arrangements. Now, some of the some events that we are used to doing will happen in a different way at this one. So, for example, there is Hip Fest happening as part of it, which is Hull Independent Photography Festival, which in the past, I've had 90,000 people at that, and the average is 56,000. So what we're doing is a very small version of Hip Fest within Humber Eco Fest, where every photography exhibition will be about the challenges that the planet is facing, and all of the talks and workshops will be about photography as an activity and an industry, and how sustainable is that, and how can it be more so, and how can photographers challenge people's perceptions, give them further information, be a social commentary tool, and use the skills and equipment that they have to do something more. So it won't attract the same numbers as it has in the past with the huge big name photographers coming and showing what they do, but I do think that it will pull quite a few thousand. Now, there's also the Deep. When we start at the Deep for the first week, the Deep has thousands of people per day go to the Deep, and it's half-term week. So I think we're probably looking at least 30,000 going to the first week in there. But that's one of the venues. So simultaneously, as the Deep is opening, there is a community garden, well, it's on the same street and very close. So in the community garden, which is called Rooted in Hull, we've got a stage built from a lorry container that will have poetry and music on it. There is stalls going to be there. Friends of the Earth are taking the lead on that. They have their own honey there. They have their pizza oven and soup kitchen. So all of that will be part of the community event at the same time as the Deep on the same street. And then mirrored on the other bank, we will have Slow Circular Earth working on the other bank with the Water's Edge Centre. So it's, if you think, you know, the numbers I said for the Deep, obviously all of these other things going on simultaneously, your guess is as good as mine is the best answer I can give you. Quite a few people coming. Now, obviously, there's a health and safety thing with this. Luckily, I managed to secure the support of the Health and Safety Department of Hull University yesterday at the graduations, where all of the tutors said, yeah, all right, we'll expand our contract to meet the challenge. So that'll really help.
Robert.
Thank you. Alan, I've been lucky enough to be somewhat party to the preparations for this and to get a bit of a sense of your experience already in putting together, being a broadcast media man, and also getting eyeballs and eardrums on these messages and getting events made to succeed. But I want to ask one key question, which is, I've got a feeling this is going to be dynamite, and I'd love to see it replicated in other communities. And actually, you know, Helena's fabulous new book talks about just that. And I'm just thinking, is there a kind of a means by which to promulgate this message and inspire? Yeah, that book right there, which I'm loving, by the way. Because, you know, if don't keep it to yourselves, you Humber types. We want it everywhere. How can we do that? Maybe in future years. Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And I've had quite a lot of conversations with Gwyn and with Teresa about this and others. I'm hoping that ASP will be a vehicle, really, for making this available to people. It needs to be tested out. You know, this is a different way of doing things. We need to work out how it works and how it doesn't work. And then off the back of that, after the festival, we need to write down distill it down to a basic model of these are the bits that you might want to do. And then, yeah, we need to be saying to everywhere else in the world, do you fancy doing something like this? And then connecting them together. Now, there are already eco-fests in many towns and places around the globe. And it'd be lovely if they were all going to share how they've done it and make my job a lot easier. But maybe if we do some sharing, they'll do some sharing, and we'll through ASP all learn how to do this a lot better. I know this is going to be, you know, every day of this is going to be a school day, but at the end, yeah, hopefully we'll have a decent report.
I will say only one thing about an experience we had in my hometown of Bath, which is it took 3 years to get a single farmers market going, and it sold all the produce from the farms within a 30-mile radius in 1 hour. So the people of Bath and the surrounding area voted with their paychecks and their presence. But when the BBC, something I know you're very familiar with, yeah, Mr. Raw, personally, when the BBC got wind of it and ran just a short chunk of a documentary about the success of the Bath Farmers Market, more than 500 more farmers markets were triggered through no extra effort on our part, because of the BBC getting involved. I'm just thinking, you know, you've got means perhaps to help with that part of the process as well, post hoc.
Well, yes, I can almost guarantee that BBC Eco Time will be talking about this event, especially if quite a few of the guests who are appearing at this event and helping out happen to be guests on the programme as well. That could well happen.
Ranjan, and then Helena.
No, I think her hand went up first.
Helena first, and then Ranjan.
I just want to say thank you, Alan. I think what for me is so exciting is that you talk about celebration and fun. And I think that's kind of where we need to be going. And that's why I like it so much. And I just love the idea of it spreading and maybe this being part of the work of ASP. So that's really nice. And I'm playing around, I'm having a bit of fun playing around with lots of ideas or suggestions to put you. But the other thing I wanted to say, which I think is really important, is that if we can build in right from the beginning that it's going to keep, you know, we're going to try and keep this momentum going, then the positive momentum, the thriving and the collaboration can start to overtake. I think, you know, there's a lot of narrative in the news, which is about doom and gloom, but also the rise of the right wing and the taking of eco ideas and distorting them. So I think, you know, for me, it's really important that we're kind of building this very positive message to take out to people. So thank you.
Right, so Ranjan and then Alex.
Yeah, I would love to be involved in some way in this, but my cutoff time would be about 5 o'clock, which is about 9:30 p.m. in Lanka. I've been thinking, you know, what kind of things might I contribute, and you need to know a lot more about what your objectives are. One of the things that I find very frustrating is that people really aren't paying attention to where the power is in the world today. My analysis is that we're living in a post-national world, and governments are really the lackeys of the multinationals. And if you really want to get change, you have to ignore the governments and go to the multinationals. I mean, I can never remember what it is, but there's lots of T's and P's. Initially, governments have surrendered sovereignty to the multinationals. The multinationals can take them to courts that the multinationals set up if governments pass any law that interferes with their profits. Never mind health, never mind sustainability, never mind the ecosystem. They can do whatever they like, and the governments cannot stop them except that they're not interfering with the profits of the corporation. I mean, I think this is absolutely diabolical, and nobody's taking any notice of it. So there's that kind of thing in terms of the big picture, and then right down to the small picture of the relationship between one's own health and the sustainable operation of the planet. I mean, I'd love to make some contribution, but I need to know more about what your objectives are and who your audience is, and whether there's a context in which a Zoom meeting, some of these ideas can be thrown out. It just baffles me that nobody pays attention to what the multinationals are doing. I mean, a few demonstrations around the multinational headquarters would go much further than trying to do anything with governments. Governments are powerless in the hands of the corporations because they know they can't win an election without corporate money. My attitude is don't bother with the servants. You have to go to the boss if you want any real change. And I don't see anybody paying attention to them. So that's just one thing. Helena, have you got anywhere with my books that you were going to look at? Or have you been too busy?
I've been a little busy. But I have every intention of learning as much as possible from you. Over the 21 days, we want to have numerous ASP online events, so there should be room to have decent discussion about every aspect of everything we need to be looking at, and it would be wonderful to really explore that as far as possible with you during that 21 days, without a doubt. And I'm sure that we could do it at a time that would suit as well. I'm sure we can make that arrangement. And it's interesting when you talk about nobody's talking about these things. And I think that one of the issues with this festival, and one of the reasons why I'm doing it in this way, is because it's not that people are operating in silos. It's just that they don't have any effective means of knowing who's doing what. We have, I know through BBC EcoTime, because basically my program is, the structure is basically bombard people for an hour with so many positive stories about things that people are already doing that they can't possibly say that there's nothing happening, so they shouldn't be. They're just late to the party, and I prove it every Monday night. And so, but they aren't connected to each other, those things. And I think what it is going back to your quote about sharing abundance. And what I know from permaculture is, in a forest, there are many trees, just like in the Humber region, there are many of these nodes, many of these people doing these things. And the bit that's there in a forest is the mycelium, which connects them all together and shares the abundance between them all. And we don't have any mycelium between these things. And if this festival and ASP can act as the mycelium that connects them all together, then we can share the abundance and the information, and we can start to grow together.
Actually, I need to make a point of information here. This is not a quote from me. This is from a chap called Paul Stamets, who was talking about fungi, and that the whole food chain would collapse if they were not generous with their surplus. And my interest is to connect that with, for example, spiritual teaching. I've never heard a priest say, love your neighbor as yourself. They say love your neighbor. If they say love your neighbor, they can tell you how to do that. It begins by contributing to the church roof fund, right? Love your neighbor as yourself means you need to learn how to love yourself. Nobody can tell you how to do that, right? And the notion that in loving yourself, there is a flow of energy, and that if you're generous with that energy, one, you grow spiritually, and two, the person you're being generous to grows spiritually. The word sacrifice originally came from to sanctify. Now it means to give up. And this whole notion of giving up to do something good, I think, is a perversion of nature and spiritual teaching. So there's another dimension there that is worth looking at, this notion that we are called upon to be generous with the surplus, and there isn't a surplus if you aren't focused on learning how to love yourself.
And that's fantastic, Ranjan. And I think that's absolutely dead on the theme of thriving, which I'm very, very passionate about as well. And I know many people are here, is that, as I said at the beginning, you thrive, we all thrive, right? And it's like, it's from that place of, we fill up our well and we can give the water, right? So it's that. So it's so bang on. And yeah, just to put my 2 penny worth in. So great. Yeah. So Alex, would you like to just ask maybe the last question before we move on?
Yes, sorry I'm late. I'm new to the group, but late to this meeting. I'm Alex. I work with people like the Eden Project. And Alan, I'm running something called the Yes Fest, which is a children's eco festival in London on September the 15th, that I hope to scale more widely to get that lovely sense of sort of 9 and 10-year-olds agency to actually do things, perhaps even independently of their families or their schools. So I'm happy to compare notes with you and Hull on what we're doing with that. Or BBC.
Fantastic. That sounds like a wonderful event. Yes, I'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I can put my email address in the chat.
Thanks.
And Alex, that might be relevant for some of our partners, Change Agents UK and the Bristol Future Talents Partnership. So keep us posted on that one.
For sure, for sure.
So amazing, just, and you can see the collaboration already kind of, you know, instantly sort of comes to life, right, and out of all of this. So it's wonderful. This is a real kind of this whole space is a real kind of example of thriving and collaboration. So yeah, I just to finish off there, Alan, I just thought, you know, I just was going to just reflect back some of the words you were using, like self-sufficient and collaborative, obviously, and celebration and opportunity and learning, you know, just to maybe your final thoughts about the sort of the overarching values that you're really kind of operating from.
Well, the values that everyone in ASP will be familiar with, and it was interesting Ranjan mentioning Paul Stowers as well, a chap so famous there's a Star Trek character named after him. So yes, it is about thriving, it is about collaboration, it is about sharing, but it is modeled on permaculture principles and the way that nature does things. And just I've learnt so much from the patterns of nature that I feel that that's where my hope lies with these things. I have climate anxiety the same as everybody else, really. And my way of dealing with that is to take some action and to celebrate all of the other people who are taking action and know I'm not on my own with it. And one of the things that really gives me hope with all of that is just looking at how nature deals with things. And so when a tree gets damaged, maybe an elephant bumps into it or something, the other trees around it will feed it until it is able to reach the canopy again to photosynthesize itself. And also in the meantime, they'll feed all of the other sapling trees from their own species and other until they can reach the canopy as well and communicate between each other. And there's no mention of charging for it or how do we trade or any of that. And they're not in competition. It's just they're connected and they're thriving together. And if I can find some way of using that principle and learn from that pattern in the way that we deal with each other, that would be amazing. And maybe this is a festival where we can experiment with doing that together.
Absolutely wonderful. So I'm sure we'll all, you know, want to give Alan a huge amount of thanks for speaking today, and, you know, massive kudos for all you're doing. And I'm sure there are going to be many, many people who would love to get involved and find a way of helping that spread, as Robert was saying. So yeah, and Alan did say earlier that if you want to reach out to him, he's there. You know, he's really available for those questions and ideas as well, and I'm sure Gwyn and others will be sort of creating something that will be a kind of an invitation for ASP to get involved. Yeah, so great, so wonderful. So we're going to just move on to the sort of final act, if you like, of the AGM. So this is where I just was thinking we could explore, actually much along what Ranjan is saying, looking at thriving, not just from like a sort of a global kind of aspect, but, you know, that it does start with us. And so what I'd like to do is to do a little exercise where we're looking at what thriving and collaboration might mean for ourselves, for us as a member of ASP, and for ASP as a whole. So to do this exercise, if everybody could get a pen and paper, we're just going to do a little exercise around that and then do a bit of sharing around it so that we can just sort of close this wonderful AGM off with a bit of self-reflection and looking forward to, you know, what may be possible going forward. So yeah, so I'll just make sure that everybody's got a pen and paper. Just give you a minute to do that. And then what I'm going to want you to do is to just make 3 columns, basically, or 3 sections on your paper. Thank you, Alan, for demonstrating. So on your piece of paper, just really, there's just 3 simple columns. One is just self as a member and ASP as a whole. So and the question I want you just to reflect on, I'm going to give you like, I don't know, 2-3 minutes just to reflect on, what does thriving and collaboration look like under those 3 headings? And don't shy away from looking at that for yourself. This is something that some people miss out on, because we want to give, we want to contribute, but if we're running on empty, we can't do all that other stuff. So it's important to look at what thriving means for you right now and going forward, and for you perhaps as a member of ASP and for ASP as a whole. And I'll just give you, let's say, 2-3 minutes for that. Thank you, Gwyn. Just put that in the chat. Maybe just 1 more minute. Okay, so if you'd like to start coming back, I know it's a quickie, but just to get the wheels greased around this conversation, just a bit of focus on that. So anybody kind of noticing anything as they reflect on each of those things, or is there anything that sort of stood out, maybe took you by surprise?
I was surprised how easy it was to answer that. Normally I sit here in a complete fug, but that came really easily. So that's compliment to what's gone before, I suspect.
So are you able to share a little bit about what you
yeah, thanks. And I must say, this is partly due to the fact that Teresa's been my coach for the last few months. So credit where credit's due. For me, it was quite simple. It just came connecting and learning. You know, I put myself as an apprentice elder, and to me the most important word there is apprentice. I just want to keep learning, and the ASP community is phenomenally rich in learning for me. So for member, yeah, thriving is about supporting and inspiring other people. That's one of my roles in my position in ASP. But as a member, yeah, and that's reciprocal. It's what I get from other people, and it's what I hope I can pass on to others. And for ASP, this goes back to a meeting that Helena, Rob and I and a few others had way back when the RBP directors joined us, which is partly responsible for the massive growth in relevant action. But they asked the same thing: what 3 things do you want from ASP in the future? And I just said, it's got to be relevant, it's got to be impactful, and it has to be now.
Beautiful, Gwyn. Thank you. Anybody else like to share?
Yeah, I can go.
Yeah, thank you, Jagdish.
If I may, yeah, thank you, Teresa. So I would also, my writing down was like going pretty easy. I didn't have to struggle. So I reflect that, and I probably understand why Gwyn said what he said. And for me, for the self, thriving would mean, building more spaces where we can, bring our ideas to the fore and discuss them. And the more we engage to do that, or I engage to do that, the more, these ideas get nourished by the feedback and the engagements that we have. So for me, opening more spaces of this kind, Earth Conversations is one, and several other things that we have been doing, is striving for the self. As a member, I would say taking it to a wider group. And for me, this has been a goal for a long time that I have not done, well on, is to see that there are more and more beyond UK, beyond Europe, people participating, because there are some good number of ASP members who either because of timelines or either because, we have not really reached out to them in the way we should. So making this really beyond Europe to get even more ideas. For all you know, there are good opportunities in some other regions. So as a member, I'd say, generally speaking, to a wider group, taking these spaces to a wider group. And for ASP as a whole, I would say more handshakes, but with a very specific goal of actually launching something as a program or a schedule, teaching schedule in mind. I've always had this aspiration, and this is only giving voice to that has been nurturing for some time. So it's pretty easy, and many people who know me know this is where I am, and what you said was just an occasion to clarify it a little more and to reiterate it a little more. So thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. And I think as we all answer these questions, it shows the sort of tapestry that we are, right?
Yes, yes.
Because we all have a slightly different nuance based on our expertise,
Sure.
obviously in our biographies and our aspirations. So it's just wonderful to hear these. So as many people that can come into this is great, because it shows the tapestry that we are. So yeah, thanks, Jagdish. Yeah, who would like to go next? Anyone else? Thanks, Michelle. Yeah.
I'll go, but I am in a slightly different position from Gwyn and Jagdish. So my situation has been for probably a couple of years precarious, and yeah, and I find that quite hard to live within, in terms of being on edge of poverty in a different country where I don't speak the language, and now I'm a single mother living in the mountains. Crazy. So in terms of the self, I definitely feel that there's a lot of I would like a lot of more stability in my life, I guess. I just want a boring life now. But for being a member, I've learned so much, and there have been so many opportunities that have come through the ASP membership network already, like courses that I've been on or groups that I've got involved with, that are just real joys to link into these, broader network of people. So for me, it's about being active and engaged, and then how hopefully that comes through to the wider organisation, is that you've got my energy and it helps and it moves things forward. So that's my 2 pence. So thank you.
Perfect. And I think, thank you very much, Michelle, because, like to show the vulnerability there as well. Do you know what I mean? I think that's important in terms of community, that we also know what each other's struggles are a little bit, just so, because that's part of being able to contribute to each other. So, thank you for sharing that with us. That's really, it's such a gift to all of us. So yeah, thank you. Yeah.
just say that this is the only space that I actually feel comfortable in doing that with other professionals in the field. So thank you for allowing me to feel like that.
Wow, great testament. Yeah, fantastic. Great. Anyone else? We've got time for another 2 or 3. Yeah, thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Teresa. Yeah, I found myself personally. I work. I think Ranjan made indirect reference to this earlier. I work on sort of a whole person well-being, thriving as best I can, and I find collaborating with the group really helps. So I'm looking at mental, as in intellectual, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being, and try to both boost and balance those in my life, and it's really helped by. So moving to as a member, I get a lot of that from you lot, input on, you know, all those 4 key areas of well-being in my own life. And then that makes me better able, you know, moving on to, as I say, my being a member, I'm better able to contribute to these things with other people, it seems. Because, you know, it's about giving and receiving also in balance, so that I can, you know, I get so much from you lot, but it further empowers me to be able to give something to others, you know, and I meet people through ASP whom I can perhaps, you know, help in various different ways as a result of thriving more completely myself. And then the ASP as a whole thing, I wrote down ASP in the context of humanity and the more than human world as a whole. You know, ASP, just as I can perhaps give and receive better as a member of ASP to and from ASP can give and receive better to the rest of all that is, in a very sort of all of interconnected lifestyle, much as Alan was referring to in you know, making reference to the permaculture principles. If all the parts feed and are fed by each other, you have a healthy ecosystem. And indeed, as others have said, again, Ranjan made reference to sharing the excess, you know, that's how life works, except for the little corner of it sometimes, which is unenlightened, self-interested humans. But hey, bless them, they can improve, and maybe we can help.
Indeed, yes, amen to that. Yeah, thank you very much, Robert. That's fantastic. Yeah, great. So yeah, Giles, I see your hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. I mean, I don't mean to sound selfish or you know, have my own interests before those of any others, but I think I'm a relatively new member of the ASP. I've only been a member for a number of weeks now. Perhaps I've missed any relevant opportunities just by dint of being so new to the group, but I would welcome an opportunity to collaborate and work with other members. I'm sure other people would too. It's not purely selfish. Yeah, so again, forgive me if there are those opportunities, they exist already, and I just have missed them by dint of being relatively new to the group. But yeah, it would be great to be able to not just link in with people, you know, connect and have a conversation, you know, every so often. It would be great to actually be part of something and collaborate, and yeah, if we could work together, that would be really good too.
Yeah, wonderful. I don't know if you want to speak to that a bit, Gwyn.
How long have you got? Yeah, Giles, that's what we're here for. That's what all of us are here for, exactly that. And you're right, it is because you're new. By the way, Sonia came in the other day. Thank you very much. So Giles has only been here a week, but he's already introduced at least 2 new members. So he's already contributing to the growth that we're looking for and the diversity. So keep on doing like that. Michelle is now, she's been a bit quiet about this, but she's stepping into a much more active role within sort of member communication and engagement. So yeah, just talk to Michelle, talk to me. We can, if you want to create a workshop, an event, that's fantastic. So just contact us. Yeah, love it.
Perfect. Yeah, that would be amazing. And I've got Lucy to thank, Lucy Spencer, for introducing the ASP to me. So yeah, thanks to Lucy as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, so I see you, Helena. I'm just going to go to Jane first, and then Helena. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was something about what Michelle said that really kind of resonated with me, and there's something about being in ASP, about it being this safer space that does allow for both the thriving and the collaboration. And I mean, I look around the room and I wouldn't normally want to speak when I see so many big brains and so many incredibly experienced people that have just, you just listen to people and you just go, whoa, but it becomes a safe space because there's an empathy. And actually, at one level people would go, oh, it's all a bit naive, but actually one of the things is people in ASP just happen to be bloody nice people. Now, that's a really important part of how we thrive and how we collaborate, because that's what brings us together and that's what allows us a safe space. That's what allows us to thrive. But I just wonder, how that's obviously evolved and how you manage to maintain that, how you manage to keep that. And I just think, again, it almost strikes me that a lot of what I get through ASP, there are other networking groups, other associations I'm in where I get business, and that's not what I get from ASP. I very much get my personal development, my personal growth, both as a practitioner, but as an individual as well. And I think it's that more holistic well-being of the whole self that I feel. I don't know how it's happened, but I know how precious it is. And I'm confident that it will continue even as that membership grows. And it just feels part of the core. And I guess I'm just raising it as something we need to be aware of, but also not try too hard to protect, because it has evolved and hopefully we're still very nice, I hope.
I can cast a little bit of light on that darkness, Jane, because I think the most significant meeting that set this in train was when, about 2010, we decided to kill ASP. And we went up to Chew Valley. There's a farm up there in the nature reserve, and we called about 15 people together. And they didn't know what we were going to do. We called it a discovery meeting. The actual meaning was discover what the world would look like without ASP in it. And we announced at the first morning of the first day that we were now disbanding ASP, just to clear the space and see what happens. And people were quite shocked, because you don't normally get called to a meeting where it's basically just called off in the first 5 minutes. And after about 3 or 4 hours of Liz Zeidler facilitating a general conversation to sort of keep us slightly focused, Mike Zeidler just turned around and said, I can't do my work unless I'm connected. And I need to be supported, and I need to be challenged. And there was a silence in the room as all of us suddenly realized, shit, so do I. And then we decided that was the purpose of ASP, as simple as that. And that's, I think, where it all grew from.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Gwyn, and thank you, Jane. I just think that's a fantastic reflection that I think gives so much hope, and so much sense of possibility for ASP coming from that place, and that it is a safe space, and it is a place where we can grow together. And that was very beautiful to hear. So thank you for that. So so we'll just need to just, if you don't mind, making it a quickie, Helena. Sorry to do that to you, but we're just nearing the time. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think I'd just like to say, so important that we think about our personal health. Like because I get so involved in stuff and I so want the world to be a better place. So I forget that I need to go walking every day or exercise. So, but I also wanted to bring our planet in and say, for me, it's really important. What we've tried to do in Earth Conversations is say it's for everybody. It's for the birds and the bees and everything that's so threatened and precious. And I think for ASP as a whole, I think if we can keep that we're for ourselves thriving and for our communities, human communities, but also, you know, the birds and the bees and everything that really need us. Because remember, when the temperatures get really high, the species can't live, the baby birds can't live, you know, so it's really, really important what we're doing. So if we can hold that in our hearts, I think it's really important. So thank you all.
Oh, that sounds like a really wonderful way to sort of round that off. Thanks so much, Helena. Wonderful. So we are now drawing to the close, just to say thank you all for coming. It's been absolute wonderful to be here with you all and to hear everyone's point of view and to just really get this flavor of ASP, of who we are. I think we've really got that today, and it just feels so nurturing and, you know, lots of hope and possibility that's here, and obviously loads of opportunities to grow and do more, and, you know, but together I do feel we can do it, right? You know, there's a lot we can do. So Gwyn, I'm going to ask you to extinguish the children's fire, but maybe you could be the one that asks the question that you were mentioning earlier.
Thank you again, Teresa, for everything you've done today, and for David and Alan for their contributions, and for everyone for turning up and contributing so richly. Yeah, this is the point we come to. It's just probably the most important part, because now, you know, we've heard about plans, we've been invited to make our own sort of considerations of what we do in the future, and it's not about us, as Giles was actually beautifully saying. It's about the children that are unborn yet, and some of the children that are born yet. So if you could just take 30 or so seconds to reflect back on everything you've heard, and is there anything that you think that we've implicitly or tacitly agreed to do that may harm the children's fire 7 generations out? Has anyone got any objections to what we've done or said? No? Thank you very much.
Great. So
have a great weekend.
Thank you for that. And guys, just maybe just very, very quickly, just go around the circle and just one word that you would use to say what you're going away with from today. So Gwyn, I'll call you out.
I didn't think I'd ever hear myself say this. Hope.
You're great. Yay. Rebecca.
Is a fine.
I don't know. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'll look back to you, but otherwise, just yeah, that's absolutely fine. Jan. Oh, sorry, Jan, you were not off mute. That's it.
Co-creation.
Nice, nice. Helena.
Gentleness.
Great. Michelle.
Calm.
Beautiful. Jane.
There's hope for me as well.
Fantastic. Robert.
I know I'm overexcitable, but the word for me is delight.
Great. Lucy.
Exhilarated.
Fantastic. Ranjan.
Not alone.
Uh-huh. Fantastic. Alan.
Very lonely in the sense of not finding anybody with common ground.
Fantastic. Alan.
Mycelial.
Oh, good word. Will.
Buoyancy.
Oh, great. Buoyancy, yeah. David.
Hope.
Great. Jagdish. Oh, you're on mute, lovely. Jagdish, you're on mute. Yeah.
Sorry. I would say walking easy.
Oh, great. Nice.
I think enjoying it, yeah.
Yeah. Giles.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
Nice. Rebecca, do you want me to come back to you, or you can shake your head? No, you're okay. Yeah, and I was going to say the same thing. Deep appreciation, just for you all, for what we're creating here. So go well, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you all so much for coming, and see you soon.
And Teresa, thank you for doing all this.
Oh,
Yes.
you're welcome.
And Gwyn too.
Thank you. Thank you, Gwen.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
see you guys. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you for all that you do, all that you have done, and all that you will continue to do as well.
Oh, thanks, Giles.
Okay, have a great weekend, guys. Bye for now.
Great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Well done, Teresa.
That went well. That was good. Yeah.
Wow, stop. That's part of your mission, isn't it? To be on the stage, be out there.
It is. It is. Yeah. Yeah. To step forward. Yeah. Yeah. It's what I'm. Yeah. So that was fantastic for me. No, it was. Yeah. So thank you for the invitation.
Well, literally, I had no idea it was going to be like this.
Oh, really? I've never been to one of your AGMs before, so I have no idea what.
Well, they're all radically different, but this has been. It's got a depth of maturity to it.
Yes, it did, didn't it?
And
I thought that.
I always hesitate to use the word professional. I prefer to use the word care.
Yeah.
And there was a care was just, the fact that it's been carefully done and is flexible to go wherever it wants to as well.
Mm.
So, yeah, tremendous. Thank you very much.
It was great, and it was lovely to hear from people who didn't speak, but they came away with buoyancy and things like that. So
yeah,
great.
No, that's excellent. Much to ponder on there. We
yes,
better
exactly.
edit this out.
You've got to go throw some balls. Okay.
Okay.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.